All right. Can everyone hear me well? Can you give me a thumbs up? All right. Thank y'all. So, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, depending on where you may be joining us from, as well as when you may be watching this video. My name is Rock Lash, and I have the pleasure of serving as the director for the Mlk Scholar program at Ithaca College, as well as the director for the Center for Inclusion, Diversity, Equity, and Social Change, which we affectionately just call IDEAS because that is a really long title, and we love our acronyms at Ithaca College. Um, my pronouns are he, him, and my role at the institution is based out of a love for supporting all students and helping them understand that there's how they experience the world versus how the world experiences them. And those are two different things to process, as we want all Ithaca College students to be aware of their global citizenship and what that means. So with a team of dynamic professionals, support staff from faculty and staff, as well as community members, and alumni. We work together to create educational opportunities for all students and also help coordinate and develop student leadership, specifically for a program like the Mlk Scholar program. So this program has been around at Ithaca College since 2002, founded under the leadership of Dr. Roger Richardson, as well as Dr. Tanya Saunders, who both retired this summer. Um, this program was created to help close opportunity gaps, specifically centering the experiences of students of color to be able to access higher education, but also to be able to carry on the legacy of the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. at Ithaca College. And what we do is spend the first year focused on civil rights and spend that first year grounding and getting everybody on the same page. And then we take off into human rights for the next 3 years. So with us today are the first year Mlk Scholars, class of 2024, right? 2024. Whew. Not gonna think about it. That's a big number. It's good to have you all here. So a few quick things before I let each of them introduce themselves. I just want to point everyone's attention to our Mlk Scholar website. That is the first place that you want to check in with information, okay? And that information is up to date, it's accurate. I myself edit the website, so if anything changes or anything needs to, be posted, that's posted, immediately and as soon as possible. It's just, I know, students, and I know us as a people, if you just want to Google MLK, Ithaca College, it'll take you right to the page, or ithaca.edu/MLK. And it'll take you right to the Mlk Scholar page. I want you to pay attention to the specific deadlines that are there. The application and all of the materials are going to be due on January 18th. That is not a flexible deadline. If you have an outstanding circumstance or you need accommodations around meeting that deadline, please feel free to reach out to me. My email is on the website. It's also the letter RLASH at ithaca.edu. All right. And if you want to talk to me one-on-one, we can do what we can to support you. We want to make sure you're set up for success. So I'm going to allow our Mlk scholars to introduce themselves. And if you can give us your name, your pronouns, your intended major, and maybe just briefly why that major, right? To tell us a little bit more about who you are, why you chose that major, what you want to do with it. You don't have to give us the Declaration of Independence speech, but just open up a little bit. And the first person I see on my screen is Beja. So Beja, I'm gonna kick it to you, and then you're gonna kick it to someone else. All right.
All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Beja, and my pronouns are she, she, her, and hers. And my intended major is television radio. And I just have always loved television and movies, and I want to produce like reality TV one day, or maybe do broadcast journalism. So that's just what I want to do. And I feel like I've been able to get some insight into like that future career through Ithaca College. And I will pass it on to Jania.
Hey guys, my name is Jania. I use she, her, hers pronouns, and my major is exercise science with a medical science concentration. And my desire, why I picked that major, is because I want to be a sports medicine physician. So it's taking my love for sports and my desire to be a doctor in one. And I'll pass it over to Liv.
All right. Hi, lovely people. My name is Olivia Solenza. My pronouns are she, her. And right now I'm in the exploratory program, but if I had to pick a major that I really want to go into, either communications or screenwriting, because I love making people happy, I love writing, and I love telling stories. And I hope that through my passions, I can inspire others to do the same. I'm going to pass it over to Zawadi.
Hi, I'm Zawadi. My pronouns are she, her. I'm also a TBR major like Beja. And the reason I guess that I chose that as a major is because I also want to either produce shows and movies or honestly, like Beja said, work in broadcast journalism and different things like that. So yeah, and I'm going to pass it to Fareed.
Hi, my name is Fareed. My pronouns are he, him. I'm majoring in politics and minoring in legal studies. And the reason I've picked those two is because I'm just well, first of all, I'm really interested in the classes they offer, and I'm just like I'm interested in law and justice and how it works. So yeah, I really like taking those courses. I'll pass it on to Fab.
Me? I don't know what's happening that I can't hear them when they finish talking. But hello, my name is Olivia. My pronouns are she, hers, and my intended major is theater production and design. I'm looking at a design concentration. I chose this field because I love storytelling and I love spatial storytelling and what it can bring to people. So I hope in the future to be doing themed events, experiential marketing, or just staying in theater and just producing and designing shows. And I will pass it on to Adriana.
Hi, I'm Adriana. My pronouns are she, hers, and I am double majoring in politics and legal studies. I have an interest in the criminal justice system and potentially becoming a congresswoman. I'm passing it on to Amira.
Okay. Hello, everybody. My name is Amira Torrance. I'm from Harlem, New York. My pronouns are she, her, hers. My intended major is clinical health studies / physical therapy. And I got into that just because growing up, my sister and I, we played a lot of sports and she was always getting injured. So I went to physical therapy with her and I fell in love with the field. And that's something that I always wanted to be a part of. I will pass it on to Kenji.
Hi, I'm Kenji Frazier. I go by she, her, hers pronouns. I'm an exploratory major, but I'm leaning towards communication management and design because I thought it was pretty cool. Yeah, and it's like media and stuff. And I'll pass it on to Angela.
Hi, I apologize for any background beeping or anything, but my name is Angela and my pronouns are she, they, and my major is visual arts, film, and photography. And I chose that major because I just generally love the arts and I didn't really want to be restricted into one category. Sorry, I'm gonna pass it to who hasn't gone yet? Naila.
Hi, I'm Naila. I use she, her pronouns. I'm in the exploratory program, but I'm leaning more towards a Latinx major just because I really like history and like Caribbean studies. So yeah, I'm gonna pass it on to Chess.
Hi, my name is Chess. My pronouns are he, she, they. I'm a documentary studies and production major. I chose that major because I have said that I wanted to be a documentarian since I was in like 5th, 6th grade, since I learned like what that was. I loved documentaries when I was a kid. So that's why I'm here now.
Thank you all so much. I appreciate y'all being real, being honest, and I look forward to asking y'all this question next year to see, where you are in the world. So, a few groundkeeping things. MLK scholars, everyone doesn't have to answer. If everybody wants to answer, that's totally cool. But also just remember, no one can really see the chat when we post this to record it and we put it up for folks. And I know we use the chat in class, but if you do want to share, I'm going to ask that you unmute yourself. All right. So let's start 30,000 foot view. Start easy. Hopefully. Can you describe your first semester of college as an MLK scholar in 3 words? And feel free to expand, or you can just put those words out there. And I'm gonna leave that open. And I'm gonna sit that right there.
If I was to put it in 3 words, I would say uncharted but refreshing. We are in a time that like no one else ever before has gone their first semester of college in a pandemic, and like had to do it completely online. And but I kind of feel as though like this little online learning, even though it has put, some distance in between us, I feel like we as a cohort are like so close. Like we're basically like on our phones all day so we can like very quickly text each other. um and then just the same thing that I was expecting out of college. It's very refreshing, to get education that you're interested in, and to also be around people who are also, interested in what you're learning too. It's not like high school where like, you're in class with kids who don't care about the material. All of us are here because we care about it. We went through the whole interview process and, decided that Ithaca College was for us. So yeah, uncharted but refreshing.
See, Chess always nails it. She always gets it. I mean, I really can't sum it up any better, but one thing that I really want to highlight is the incredible connection that I have with this cohort. Coming in, like Chess was saying, we're in this online time and we don't get to meet people from the school. And it's really upsetting because, there are a lot of really passionate people who want to use their voice and use their platform and get to know us. And being able to come in knowing you guys has been such a blessing because literally when you come into this program, you are like given new perspectives, new reasons to smile, and it is such a wonderful joy to have.
I can say also something that those 3 words that came to mind was exploring, shattering, and reinventing, because we've learned a lot about the civil rights movement, about ourselves, and different definitions that some of us had scattered, some of us knew very well. And we were exploring together notions and how this like Zoom world works, and also shattering perceptions, because we've learned a lot that isn't taught to us in like grade school, and or maybe it's taught to us like at a half truth. And like reinventing is like using that knowledge to and restructuring it to help others, and further further ourselves as persons. So definitely being an MLK scholar has helped me a lot in other classes too, because I've used this knowledge for many other things in my theater courses.
Yo, thank you, Fabi. You actually just transitioned us into the next question I'm gonna roll with on the list. So we've been together for 14 weeks, right? And that was beautiful. That was a beautiful transition. I couldn't have asked for much more. See, I'm spoiled with y'all, man. 14 weeks, all right. And as an MLK scholar, you have to take a 3 credit first year civil rights course, right? That's required for the program. So talk to me a little bit about what your experience has been like. What has your learning experience been like with the course, the material, leaving class and sitting with that material, writing your papers, preparing for your final project and your final paper that's going to go to the Biden-Harris administration? Like, what has this whole experience been like? So thank you for kicking that off for us, Fatty.
Yeah, I feel like honestly I've just learned so much that I feel like it's not taught in high school or like elementary school, middle school history books. And I feel like a lot of history gets brushed over, and I've just learned a lot about the stuff that happened behind the scenes of the civil rights movement and about women during the civil rights movement. Like Joanne Robinson. Like I had no idea who she was before this class, and I learned so much about her. And just like the organizations like SCLC and SNCC, just I don't know, it's just really interesting. And I was just excited to be like, wow, I didn't even know this stuff was happening back then, and it's making me more. It makes me more excited to want to go research myself and learn more about it because, you know, it's an important part of history, obviously.
Yeah, I found the class in general to be pretty cool just because well a lot of the things that we've learned about the civil rights movement this year has been like a lot of it is new information to me, and also we've been taught to also like focus on the importance of particular things that I haven't really given much importance to before. We've learned about like more people who are involved with the movement who I hadn't heard of before. We've learned of more organizations and just in general like a better sense of the movement itself. And I've also really enjoyed writing the papers actually, just because we get to write them based purely on our own perspectives, and it's like more of a reflection. And I just writing it for me has really helped me also uh sort of realize like what my opinions are about all of this and how I look at it. And I don't know, it's just for me it's been really interesting, and it's just helped me think about stuff that I've never thought about before.
I also think that it helps that like the way that the material is, it doesn't feel daunting in the sense that like you feel like you're almost like a little bit dumb for not understanding these concepts that like once they're put out on the table, you're like, oh, that's so simple to understand. Like, why didn't I get that before? Because we also discuss why they've been brushed over, you know, why that we aren't exactly taught about certain things about the civil rights movement, or how we've mentioned this in class, how it's sometimes a game of telephone and unlearning, you know, some of some of what we had been taught before that was misconstrued or taken out of the context that is necessary to understand it. Um, and like you don't feel dumb for not knowing it beforehand, even though it did affect your life. And then when you hear about it, you're like, that makes so much more sense.
I feel sorry.
Go on, go on.
I feel like learning about the forgotten figures of the movement was especially important to me, especially learning about the Black women behind the movement, like Beige was saying, like Joanne Robinson. I feel like, you need to give credit where credit is due, and that transcends into today, where you see Black culture not being credited, or the Black women in the movement, in the civil rights movement, not being credited as, let's see, the men in the movement. So I feel like that was really important to me, and to embrace the struggles as a Black woman, especially.
Completely agree with that. And also to add on, like we've learned about a ton of other figures that we had never gotten the chance to do because people don't talk about them. But also we've also talked about figures that were well known, but from a different perspective. So with MLK, I thought it was really cool to learn about him starting when he was like a kid and like a teenager causing trouble. And I forgot what you said, Rock, but it was like he was fighting somebody. But what was the term for that? You said like take it to the
grass.
To the grass. That's what it was. I don't know if it was grass or streets or mat or whatever, but I knew it was taken somewhere. But honestly, it was just stuff like that. And like I didn't know how, him growing up having money and also in the church like affected like people's perception of him, and I didn't realize how that made him into the man that he like became, and the reason that was, I'm not even making sense, but like how like people saw him as a person that could lead and like put him in a higher position over other people. So it was cool to see that, and also just like how he changed over time and how his like perspectives changed over time, and like you can see it in his like speeches and his writings and different things like that. So honestly, deconstructing MLK has been something cool to learn about.
And to add on, in this class, we not only focus on MLK, we focus on other figures that we haven't learned about in the past. Because I know, like for me personally, growing up in elementary school, middle school, high school, we always like passed by the civil rights movement so fast. We never spent a lot of time on it, and if we did, it was always only on the main figures. So we didn't get to learn about the other people in the movement, and because every little bit that people do helped. And I also enjoy hearing other people's perspectives. Like Chess said, it's nice to know that people care about the civil rights movement, and we see how it's affecting us in today's life. Because in the past, you know, it's just something that not a lot of people care about. They think, oh, it happened a long time ago, but it still affects us today.
Um, Sorry, I'm gonna add a little bit to that just to top it off. But something that I really like that has really helped me is like seeing the movement as something like living, something human. We don't learn about it as something perfect. We learn the things that weren't as good and the things that were pretty good, and we're constructing a realistic view on what happened, because most of the times what we learned is so like Rock said, it's a term we use to like say to the whitewashing and the like perfection of different things. Yet they Disneyfied the movement. It was like fairy tales and everything, but we're learning the bad parts, the middle parts, and the good parts. And so using that analysis to understand movements right now and how we're a part of them was really something that we've done in class and is very important, at least for me, and understanding in my understanding of the past.
I appreciate that. Thank you, Fabi. You opened us up and led us to that question, so it was only right that you close us out there. So I'm gonna throw a question out there. What have you learned about yourself this fall in this course in your first semester as an MLK scholar? Because you filled out the application and said, I've started down this road of social change and social justice. I'm going to take this lifelong commitment to those ideals and concepts. So what have you learned about yourself? And y'all, look, you can give me a thumbs up or thumbs down. I felt like the vibes today. I felt like we were here to ask that question. If we not there, I can back it up, y'all. I can back it up. Y'all know that. So are we there? Okay, cool.
I think this has a lot to do with what we kind of talked about in like our first paper, just understanding like what we talked about and perspectives and stuff. So one of the biggest things that I took away from this class about learning about myself through the civil rights movement is that when we talked about different types of oppression, um like I had understood that I had different types of oppression, being born female, being Hispanic, being gender queer, being, queer myself in other ways. I understood like individually that those, you know, I wouldn't say alienated me, but definitely had othered me from, people who were white, from people who were cisgender and heterosexual. But understanding that those kind of had worked together to put me in this little, I wouldn't say box, but in this hierarchy. And, me being, middle class puts me a little bit higher than someone who is, impoverished and having my same issues. But then like actually being able to visualize that hierarchy and that supremacy, and how it's working against me, but also how it's working for me. And, with people, because we are all so complex and diverse, like in every single life. Um, it's very weird, but also like seems like everything falls together like once you can visualize how that hierarchy works. And that you're not the only person that feels that way. You're not being dramatic. It is systems that are in place to either oppress you or to push you forward. And it's kind of like an ocean. It's always, the waves are coming in and then they go out. And, understanding the tides of your life in comparison to other people. And that's kind of like what I've learned through the civil rights movement.
And I know it's the first semester, still developing, and I know we're doing this in a pandemic. And I know that, we're making some adjustments with the first year requirements. We talked about that at the end of our last class, like especially with the leadership certificate and the Student Leadership Institute. Maybe next semester is a better time because we all got stuff going on. So let me throw another question out there. Last year, when you all started your application process, the world was different, right? When you filled out the application and submitted it, we were able to, we didn't have to think about 6 feet. We didn't have to think about grabbing our mask when we had to grab our keys and our phone before we went to school, work, wherever. But, we quickly shifted for your interview process, right? And when we interviewed you all, that was a remote process in March and early April. So current prospective students are going through this application process and interview process 100% remote, right? We're still in the pandemic. We're still in election season, even though we're past election day. Um, I haven't seen anybody on social media talk about their New Year's resolutions or how great they think 2021 is going to be. It's been like, let's just take it day by day, right? Let's get to tomorrow and then we'll see. So if you could go back and talk to yourself, right, your younger self, about the application process and the interview process, what would you tell yourself? Whether it's advice, whether it's my top 5 things that you need to remember, my younger self, I'm from the future. What would you tell yourself during that process?
Um, well, I know for me, coming into this program was really cool because I'm mixed. So it's very hard for me to identify, especially in a very white community. It's very hard for me to find my fit. So something I want to tell myself is like, if you get into this, you belong here. There is a reason why you are here, and you are going to make a change, and you are going to do good things, and never forget that you belong here. Because like sometimes like when I'm going through this and I'm listening to other people talk, everybody has so much wonderful things to say. And I'm over here, I'm like, yeah, I can relate, I can do things, but I also know that I'm very privileged in that I can pass as white. So I don't experience as much hate or as much pushback because you know, I do have a lot going for me, and I need to recognize that I am in a position where I need to use my voice to do good things and to stand up for people who do face the oppression that I don't. And I felt a little bit out of place because, you know, I don't experience this. What do I have to tell? What do I have to give? But I do have so much to give. I have so much to learn. I have so many perspectives to gain. And through all my learnings, I can help make the world a better place and push it in the right direction.
Appreciate you sharing that, Liv. Other voices?
I think quite a few of us do suffer from imposter syndrome. We do talk about it in the group chat sometimes about like, oh, like someone made a mistake and that's why we're here. And like we've even mentioned it in class, which Rock has like definitely shut down. But I think that's just also part of being, people of color. We are more likely to have imposter syndrome. We are in a PWI, meaning primarily white institution. There's been times that I have been in my other classes that are not as diverse as this one. And then I'm like, am I actually supposed to be here? Or having this program that, has the requirement that you are a person of color, or are ethnic. And then this was also a problem during my college application process because I didn't feel as though I got into all of my colleges because I actually deserved to be there. I felt like I got into them because I could pass as white, but also because I checked off all their diversity boxes. And that they didn't feel like they had to give up anything to have a face or a person like me. I have a disability, but it doesn't really affect other people as much as it affects me. Like I don't need ramps for a wheelchair. My disability is very, intrinsic and very like to myself. So the imposter syndrome that comes with that, and with being a person of color, where it kind of feels like, am I actually in this because I deserve to be here, or am I in this because they needed to check off some diversity boxes to fill out some quotas? But seeing all of us kind of talk about it, and like obviously everyone here is so smart, and too many people here also don't believe that they're as smart as I know that they are, just from the quick conversation or quick comments that we give to each other. And then just like seeing like my personal feelings like that reflected onto them, it's like, no, but you're smart, like you deserve to be here, like I don't. And then it's like, oh wait, that's might be how they feel about me. and being in this space that, you know, is full of people of color. And it's like, clearly none of us are here because we're people of color, because that was part of the application. We're here because we deserve to be here. You know, we made it through the interview process. We were selected out of, you know, hundreds of applicants, all of those being people of color. We are here because we are worthy of being here. We are here because we are smart, because we are intelligent, because we want to fight for social justice and civil rights in our day-to-day lives. And that's not like, so no one handed us anything in order to be here.
Oh God, that was really good. Chess, Liv, you're gonna make me cry. But honestly, I guess if I could tell myself something, I mean, when I heard about like this program, the Mlk Scholar program, one thing that stood out to me was the fact that you were coming in with this cohort, this group of people that you would always have. I mean, going into a school like this, you know, it is a PWI, like you said, and you know, you might not necessarily see a lot of people that look like you or can identify with a lot of the things that, you know, you go through or that you feel. And so I was really excited about that and having this group of people that I could go to. And honestly, when they told us we were going online, I was nervous that we weren't going to have the same connection that we could have had. I was nervous that, you know, oh, maybe we just won't talk, maybe we won't see each other. I don't know when we're gonna like see each other or whatever. But honestly, I think it's amazing that we've able to form the bonds that we have, even online. And I guess if I was telling myself even a few months ago, I would just be like, it's still possible. And honestly, like, we're almost done with the semester, and I think we've proved that. I think we've proved that even in this crazy situation, you can form these bonds, you can do it. So I would tell myself that, not to shut down, not to, you know, get upset. Well, you know, I was upset, but just, you know, it's still possible to make these connections. So it's good that we still have this. So I tell myself that it's gonna be okay.
Um, I would tell myself to just be myself, because, you know, like Chet said, sometimes you think you're pretending, or that you're being like, maybe you're not what they want, but just be yourself. When I was in my interview, I just was as honest as possible. When they asked me something that I didn't know, I said, I don't know, but I'll learn on the way. I was honest, and just don't be afraid to be yourself, and you're you're gonna learn so much stuff, and you're gonna get so much friends who are like you, and who understand you, and who think like you, and who you can have conversations in which you disagree, in which you can love yourself, and don't be afraid to try. If I hadn't gotten in, I still would have been proud of myself to try and get in the program, because it definitely was something I said I'd fit in very well, and thank God I do fit in really well. So it's been a wild ride, but it's definitely been super fun and way better being a scholar and having all of these amazing people as support.
Going off from what Fabi and Zawadi said, I feel like I've made connections really well with the people here, and also with my mentor. I was able to speak to someone that works in Congress. So like that just is very interesting to me, you know, since I want to potentially become a congresswoman. So yeah, the connections just from being a part of this program are actually amazing.
Appreciate that. Thank you all for sharing and voicing what you voiced. You know, we call it PWIs, predominantly white institutions, but we also call them HWIs, right? Not just predominantly, but historically white. And I think, you know, as we continue to advance and talk about, you know, setting this base of civil rights and going into human rights and understanding structures and systems, I think we all have to realize, you know, how those systems and structures informed by white supremacy have impacted us, right? I think we talked about in one class, you know, the trick, or not as the trick, the intent of white supremacy is for to have us as people of color, you know, second guess ourselves, right? We've always been taught we got to be twice as good to get half of what white folks get. And so, you know, always being on the edge of being intense, and that imposter syndrome that shows up, you know. that can follow us. So a lot of things are, learning about these structures and systems, but also applying that knowledge to yourself. And y'all are doing a great job. They're doing a great job. I hope y'all know that. So I'm gonna put this last question out there for us to end on. And I'm hoping that everybody can put their voice to this question. So if someone, might define the word hope as something to look forward to, right? Some people define hope and happiness as looking forward to something. My question to you all in closing, what are you looking forward to as IC students and as MLK scholars down the road, right? We're coming to the end of our 16 weeks together in our course. You're still MLK scholars. We still got 4 meetings together next year, right? You still are going to put your leadership into action next semester and be asked to do some things you didn't do this semester and continue down the road. So what are you looking forward to? What is hope for you as an MLK scholar for the next 3.5 years? And the first person I see on my screen, once again, Phasia.
Yeah, I think the main thing for me, being in like this pandemic for so long, I'm just hopeful for like making new friends and like meeting all of you guys in person. If we end up being able to all be on campus together. And I don't know, I feel like I've made like such great connections with all of you guys. And I'm just excited to, like hang out and have my people. And I'm also just hopeful for just excelling in my major and being able to make new connections, like networking and stuff like that. And yeah, just like going on the path of what I want to do in the future. Oh, did you want me to call on someone? Okay. I'll go with Liv.
Ooh, oh, such a loaded question. I'm excited about everything. But I I'm excited I have hope for a bigger, better, and brighter future for all people. I have hope that I will find what I want to do and find that last missing puzzle piece in order to use my talents to make the world a better place. I'm so excited to meet all of you and give you the biggest hugs I possibly can. I'm excited for Bachelorette nights. I'm excited for Dancing with the Stars nights. It's going to be wonderful. And I'm just hopeful for better. And I'm going to pass it to my girl, Nayu.
I'm definitely hopeful to meet everybody in person because it's one thing to talk like through like group chats and everything, which has been great, but like like meeting people in person, it's always like a good experience. And also just like gaining my knowledge and everything and applying what I've learned in this semester specifically to like my daily life and everything. So yeah, I'm pass it to Zwadi.
All right. I mean, obviously, I am also excited to meet all you guys. I'm really excited to see all of your heights in person because I know there's some 411s in here and I don't believe it till I see it. So, I want to see that. And then honestly, just overall with school, I want to be able to get to campus and put the things I've learned into actual physical action because a lot of the TVR program is hands-on and watching other people do it over Zoom hasn't been exactly the best way to learn it, but so I'm excited to actually do that. And I'm gonna pass it to Kenji.
I'm excited to meet all of you guys, like, cause what you're saying, like the heights, I'm like trying to judge everyone's like what like they actually look like. And I'm also excited to try the food in College Town because I heard that's amazing. And because it's kind of weird learning in online, like especially like with classes, because it's like you can easily zone out and all, but like when you're on campus and stuff, there's other people there and stuff, and it's just easier. Yeah. I'm gonna pass it to Jania.
As an MLK scholar, I feel like the most like what I look forward to is finding my voice, primarily because I'm an introvert at nature, and as a leader I'm still learning and developing. So being afforded like opportunities where I could find that voice and transform from an introvert to hopefully somebody who's more comfortable at public speaking or in the name of social justice is something that I really look forward to. And I'll pass it over to Chess.
So what I am most hopeful of is just that like we get to have all those classic college memories together, as a cohort. Like, yes, we're gonna have the stuff of, we were supposed to have travel this semester that we didn't get to do, that is gonna be pushed for another year. Um, I believe that we might be going with next year's freshmen if we go. Um, that's what my mentor said, that it was like a maybe in the air. So that's like a whole new cohort for us to get closer to. So I'm super hopeful to like, meet the future in cohort in person, but also meeting the previous cohort. They have been so kind and so helpful. And even if like they aren't like, your MLK big, they are still like super nice and friendly to talk to and always there to lend a hand. So I'm super hopeful that we'll get to have all those nice college memories together, and that like this semester that we're all apart is just, a different kind of memory, but that we still get the regular ones. If that makes sense. I'm going to pass it to Amira.
Yeah, so I'm most looking forward to, I think, in-person classes because I'm not great with technology at all. It's been really hard for me this semester, being online for everything all day. And I was also looking forward to traveling. Like I've been to Atlanta before, but now knowing more about MLK and the civil rights movement, I think it would be better for me to understand, and, seeing and being there will be very beneficial to me. I will pass it to, did Adriana go?
Okay, so for me, definitely it's meeting new people, making connections, and just like maybe having an internship in person. Online is definitely very difficult for everyone. Yes, and I was also looking forward to traveling. That was something that really caught my eye as well. Like that's something that I'm really interested in. So I'll pass it to Fabi.
Yeah, so I'm gonna start with my major. So for my major, I'm excited like Sawadi to like get hands-on because like seeing somebody do showing me tools and how to use them from like Zoom is not it. And just productions and learning a lot of stuff. But like with you guys with the MLK cohort, I just like I'm so excited to have you for the next 4 years and all the memories you're gonna have, like Chess said, all that college memories, late nights, movie nights, all that jazz. And I'm also really excited for my research and how it's gonna go. I like it's like so fun to think about, and um, just like getting to be with you guys and learning about the stuff that I want to make a change on the world on is going to be so fun. So I'm looking forward to that. And I will pass it on to Farid. Have you gone?
Yeah, so I'm pretty excited, like you guys said, just to meet you guys here and then meet other people in my other classes as well. I'm excited to just get on campus, join some clubs, and in general, just also I'm pretty excited to take more classes that I'm interested in. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Angela?
I apologize for any background noise again. My neighborhood's kind of active right now, but I'm just really excited to like just like see y'all in person and like make memories with y'all, like my friends here, like being able to like just hang out with each other rather than like on social media and stuff. Because I kind of do struggle with that, so like I'm better with like in-person interaction. So like I look forward to that. That's really what I'm looking forward to.
And I'm looking forward to what you all will do. Uh, Hopefully, the program can continue to empower you, but I hope that you all know that you are in charge, and it's up to you what you do with this as you build your legacy, as you begin to look to do your service. Specifically, hopefully, we're back all together in Tompkins County as you start your sophomore year and the impact that you're going to have in Tompkins County. I'm looking forward to, what's going to come out of the course that you take with Dr. Sean Eversley Bradwell as you begin to focus down on your research topic and where you go with that, and match that with your leadership in the classroom and outside the classroom. And I'm gonna keep y'all posted on travel. I don't know. We need the rest of the world to cooperate with us, or let me say, we need the rest of the country to cooperate with us, so we can. We need to do what we need to do to be able to do what we want to do. So I'm going to wrap us up. We're about 5 minutes over time, but I appreciate you all for the good vibes, the energy, the truth. I promise y'all this was unscripted. Y'all are dope. I was not forcing them to say anything. Like, look at me in the camera. I was not forcing. I'm just playing, y'all. So thank you, MLK Scholars. I look forward to seeing y'all in class. Don't forget to take a look at the syllabus and do any reading that we have before class as we look to close it up. And once again, applications for the program are going to be due on January 18th. If you have questions, please continue to reach out to the admission team or to me. And once again, my email is rlash@ithaca.edu. I look forward to reading your application and learning a little bit more about you. Thank you all so much.